will a medical doctor work for 9 months, 16 months, 19 months without getting paid?
But you see how much kidnappers are paying for victims.
My thing is, government will always say the next place. We need to get that, and I think we get that. The 3% for the oil producing community is too low.
So it is support that is needed. And once you get the support, your airline people will blossom.
This is Nigeria. You need to give people sense of belonging.
Good morning, viewers. Welcome to Monday edition of Inside Nigeria, reaching you on Leadership Television this Monday morning. My name is Winifred Doban, and of course, you can see I have with me in the studio a public affairs analyst, Samantha Musa. Samantha Musa, it's a pleasure to have you around.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Good morning, viewers.
Thank you so much. On Inside Nigeria, we review major front headline stories from some selected newspapers. And this morning, we have on our main leadership newspaper, Nigeria's most influential newspaper, the sister publication, the National Economy, the Sun newspaper, and of course, the State newspaper. We are going to be flagging it off this morning with our staple, leadership. Leadership on its headlines today says 2023 presidency. Sanusi makes case for competence, merit as politicians revive zoning agreement. 2023 presidency. Sanusi makes case for competence, merit as politicians revive zoning arrangement. On the right, that says Ohanese opposes zoning arrangement. Once PDP will collapse if party zones ticket to North. Says Jonathan lost 2015 election for not respecting zoning agreements. Leadership is all about 2023 presidency this Monday, 10th January 2022 on this headline. Mr. Samantha Musa, what is your take?
Well, you see, the case Sanusi was making is actually valid. It's valid in the sense that we need people who will move the country forward. We need people who actually have proven over time that they are achievers, they are goal getters, people who have done something, who have achieved something for themselves, But having said that, I think the major problem is actually, it doesn't really just end with getting competent people. You see, Nigeria is actually at a brink of some kind of precipice that we need everything we can do to keep the country as one if we want to really continue to exist as one. And when you begin to look for competence in just one particular section of the country, then it really, it raises quite a lot of concerns that people begin to feel, are you saying there are no competent people from this zone or there are no competent people on the other zone? So really, I think going forward is, of course, competence, which should be number one, but the zoning should also play a factor. So it will now be like, so you are looking for the competence in the micro zoning kind of arrangement, because when you zone into social person, social region, then you now begin to look for the competent ones in that region, actually, which I believe Nigeria is very, very blessed with intelligent and people who have achieved a lot in different fields of their endeavors. So really, especially when you look at these three major tribes, because whatever we say, we can be saying, Southwest this, not that, but it's majorly Hausa, Igbo, and Yoruba, and it's going to take a very long time before others will begin to emerge. But majorly, whatever language you speak, you will be zoned or categorized under these three languages. So really, we shouldn't discard the issue of zoning, even though competence will always come into play even when it is being zoned. So really, Nigeria needs every force that we can pull together to make sure that the sense of national unity is actually being promoted at every level.
Thank you so much, Samela, for your view. But nevertheless, don't you think this zoning is going to be is PDP's exclusive reserve, because for APC already has 2 years, almost 2 years now, for a northern presidency, and of course everybody expects that the presidency is going to move to the south. But for PDP, the situation is dicey.
Yeah, you see,
So how are you evaluating?
you see, the two major parties are actually watching each other. The PDP wants delayed to say where it's going to zone it to. Later on, the APC was also delaying to say we would like to know where this our opposition, the major opposition parties, also zoning to such a way that everybody is being careful, such that wherever they zone it to will not be a minus to them, you know. So at a point, PDP was being more or less compelled to say, well, if our goal is actually to take over power, and you know that in terms of number, that power goes to the north, and northerners have the tendency to want to vote their own. You understand? Some persons are saying it's going to be a hard sell for them if PDP presents a southerner as its candidate and all of that. So when they were going into that convention, they decided to say, well, let us zone it into the chairmanship of the party to the North Central, and then the presidential slot will be open. Whoever proved to be, to be the candidate of the day will eventually emerge, you know. So the APC is even the one that is having the major problem right now. The APC is confused as we speak. The party is even afraid to go into any form of convention. You have seen how they've been.
And they fixed it for February.
Is it going to hold? We have so many court injunctions that are also saying no. People, aggrieved party members have gone to court and all of that. So really, the party is in. Actually, it might be some man-made kind of, quagmire, but you see, eventually, and that's why stakeholders should be much concerned. When a ruling party is having a problem, the rest of the country should not go to sleep, because whatever they do or did not do will affect all of us in the long run. And the fear, like I postulated somewhere else, is that we don't want the APC crisis to now alter the timetable of transition in Nigeria, because when the ruling party doesn't seem prepared or doesn't seem to put its house together to go into a general election, that is going to alter the timetable that is on ground. And I'm also afraid because the president seems to be nonchalant. He doesn't care. You can watch, if you see that his interview on channels, is this nonchalant attitude, like he doesn't really care. And I do not see how you can be a successful president when you are actually not grooming a successor. You understand? Because what you are trying to say is that you have done your part, and that's selfish or self-centered to say, oh, all you needed was just your own 8 years and you have gotten it. The rest of them can go and kill themselves. And I don't want him, by the time he wants to exit, to now say, oh, because of what is happening, we are going to hand over to the interim government. Because those are, we have to start looking at the implication of when a ruling party is having a major problem. And these are some of the repercussions that is going to come up when you are not willing to go into an election, or you are afraid. They might say, oh, because May 29 is around the corner and I have to leave, let's get an interim government head the country. And that's also very, very bad, because they have 4 years to prepare for this, Okay.
Well, still on the 2023 presidency, APC, the story is still the major headline on Sun newspaper this Monday morning. Can we have Sun newspaper? And Sun says 2023 presidency, anxiety over Jonathan's rumored interest. 2023 presidency, anxiety over Jonathan's rumored interest. Is APC publicity stunt, says PDP spokesman.
Yes, there's so many rumors going on, so many conspiracy theories going on. There are people who are saying Buhari and his people are trying to lure Jonathan back to APC so as to get the ticket for 2023, and having calculated, or the permutation says that he only has the right to contest for just one term, because having served previously, so and that will give the North the opportunity to come back after 4 years.
Yes.
So these stories are actually out there, and then some persons also are saying, no, there's nothing like that. It's just that the two of them won't come out to deny or to support those postulations that Jonathan having given an assignment by the United Nations, is overseeing some crisis in some of these African countries. That he needs to come and give the president feedback. But in whatever case, I think see, once you become a public figure, you don't seem to have that much of private life. So there are instances, there are some things will come up that you need to make clarifications. You just don't keep quiet because these are issues that has to do with national interest too. So you need to give clarification as to what is going on. And I mean, nobody is taking it away from him whether he has the right or not. He has the right absolutely to contest. But when rumors like this, they have the tendency to actually affect the incumbent president as well, and affect so many other permutations on politically. So I think one of them owes to Nigerians to explain what their meetings is all about.
Yes.
You understand? Because I don't see any private discussion they will be having that we, the rest of us, should not be privy to.
They said there's no smoke without fire.
Yes.
If at all APC actually, what do you think about Jonathan's presidency?
You see, it's a very clear statement.
Like somebody once said, "What did you forget in Nasrud that you are going back for?"
And before we even come to Jonathan, you see, power is very tempting.
Then,
Let's come to APC itself. They once called him clueless.
yes.
Is it now that have they schooled him to now have clue, or they are also as clueless as he is, or as clueless as he was? And you understand? Somebody will have to join the other person. It's either now they also realize that they are also clueless because they don't have a problem with handing over to him, or he actually had a clue all this while. He's not clueless as they wanted us to be. That they just try to smear his image, and now having realized that they have not done anything better than he did, there's a need to bring him back. Or they just want to make a mess of him. They just want to rubbish him in the long run. They know that, so many things have gone wrong. They can't mop it. And, one will think that Jonathan should be called to answer some questions as regards to corruption. And they are saying, okay, if we actually cover that up, he should also be able to do a payback for us and cover us up once we leave. Because if we live here, what we want to do, especially the president, he wants to do is to go and rest, considering his health and his age. So he does not want a president who will come and start questioning him and start summoning him left and right and center. So if it's none of this, you understand, then that's when you will now start going back to the issue of Jonathan. You understand? Because why I say if none of this is that power is tempting, especially if you once tasted power. It's the same drive that was driving Buhari back to be contesting and be crying on national TV why he's been denied the presidency and all of that, contested about 3 times and even vowed that he will never contest again and still came back eventually. So, if he's offering Jonathan that office, I'm sure it's quite tempting enough for him not to want to reject it. You understand? So, but Jonathan himself, just like so many other people have sounded that warning, he should also be careful. It's either they have their own agenda and say, if we use Jonathan as a decoy, we're going to get the southern votes in large quantity and then eventually create some crisis and say, Jonathan, please, you see the way these people are going about it, we might have this problem either with the courts or this or that. So please let us back so person up. But at that time, they have already drawn him into their fold and declared for APC. You understand? So it's either one of these postulations. So really, it's something that
many people see it as like a power tussle thing, in the sense that Jonathan has just one term to go. We do the 4 years. Sorry, white power returns back to the north. What does it make for equity and fairness?
The point is, it will have. I didn't mean we are actually, because I know there was a time some people are advocating for one single term of 6 years. I think that kind of one single term of 6 years will actually put a seal to the issue of all this after first time, I'm going for a second time, and all of that. And that can actually also solidify this zoning arrangement. But you see, on this zoning thing, we kept talking about it, it keeps coming up, and yet it's not a constitutional issue. It's not written anywhere in our constitution. It's an unwritten law that is being practiced among politicians. But of course, when you look at it holistically, you know it's something that promotes national interest. So back to your question about people are feeling, oh, it's just wanted to for him to have it because constitutionally he only has 4 years, to spend, and then it will still return back to the north. That's also an assumption. It's an assumption in the sense that a Jonathan can also groom a successor from the south and say, just like some people are advocating. You see, what I believe is that politics is a game of, negotiations. A president can decide to say, well, I'm from the south, but the major or 80% of my cabinet members will come from the north because I want to retain power in the south. Negotiations in the sense that politicians are selfish. You are there, you're the one that is thinking that they are there for your own interest. Their own interest always comes first. The man who you think will stand up and say it will never happen if you want to retain power in the south and is a northerner, by the time you offer him NNPC or petroleum minister, either him or his stooge will be there. You will be shocked that he's going to keep quiet about it and tell you that, oh, all this noise about rotation is actually just some kind of a distraction. What we need in this country is somebody that can move the country forward. You understand? So all the noisemakers, they have their price. You get what I'm saying? So it's about negotiations. If you know the right skills to adopt to, negotiate, even as we're speaking right now, some people are advocating that it's time for it to go to the southeast or something else. Some politicians who actually have their thinking caps intact are also offering offering appointments or offers to some southeasterners, and who will eventually rise up tomorrow and tell you that the southeast is actually not mature enough to be the president of Nigeria. You understand? So really, it's not a straitjacket approach. Everybody will just keep fighting for one thing or the other. Their interests will always come first. It's the rest of the masses. But eventually, why I supported what Sunusi was saying at Abinishio was competence will always come into play. I mean, we have learned, even if we decide to, or we pretend not to have learned, this one that we are in now is a big lesson to all of us that competence is very, very key.
Very, very key.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Smila, let me take you back to President Muhammad Buhari's interview on Channels television. And he did say that he knows who is going to hand over to, but he wouldn't disclose because he doesn't want him to be eliminated. What is your take on that?
Well, I don't know what he is really trying to insinuate by the person not to be eliminated. But you see, he has not shown any interest in the party for some times now. He has virtually shown disinterest. I mean, like, he's so much disinterested in whatever happens about bringing a successor. And that's why we are having the crisis you are having. I can tell you, we've had president in the past in this country that, because they are in that ruling party, nobody says jack until they give sense clear of direction. Obasanjo has displayed that. You understand? You don't start going and start creating crisis all over the place in the party when the president says this is the direction. Everybody will just, it's either you want to comply or you move to another party. But because he has shown that he's not interested in what happens there, they don't even see him as a party man.
But he's not assenting to the electoral amendment. It also shows that he's interested.
He's actually, not ascending
when he leaves
is
office.
because that clause is the only one that is giving him problem there. About the clause where he's saying direct or not, and not indirect primary kind of stuff. You see, that one might not necessarily be just the handiwork of his party members. Okay. You see, there's a cabal that is always ruling this country. Either they are in party A or in party B. You understand? Which this person knows that person that knows that person. They might not be talking to the president directly, but they know the people who has the president's listening ears to also be influencing those ones to say, our interest is at stake here. because and you also are beneficiaries of this interest.
And besides, Mr. President, don't forget that when you leave, maybe the person that will come in now may try to undo what you did, and the president will like.
Yeah, but well, if the president is not bold enough, if the people have spoken, I think the most important thing is the president shouldn't forget that he came because a majority of the masses, goodwill of the masses felt, yeah, this is the person that is going to do our bidding. This is the person that is going to be with the masses eventually. He does not belong to the establishment. So, and if the people have also spoken to, the people who are representing them in the National Assembly, and the National Assembly has also, yield to the calling, to the yearnings of the people they are there to represent. That's their constituents. And they have also transmitted that to the president to say, well, we are not your appointees. Some people voted us to come and represent them here. We don't know what to go back home to go and tell them. You understand? This is what they want, and we are firm about this. If this is the only one you will leave for us, even though it's some other issues, you were not overreading, but on this one, because we don't know what to go and tell the people who sent us here, we are putting our foot on the ground. There was a bill that the president assented to, and now I'm trying to remember that bill exactly. He said amendment will take care of it in the future. He should have appended his signature on this one and also said that amendment will take care of this. And the Industry Act. Yes, you understand?
But
so
he came back from overseas. He assented to it.
You understand? You understand? So really, but this one, I believe, even I haven't spent the time because there was a time frame to which he had to assent or not. And by allowing that to actually expire, it shows that he was under some kind of pressure, from politicians or from people who have one interest or the other, or because otherwise he shouldn't have waited till the expiration of that and just make his stand and say, no, this is what I believe and this is why I'm rejecting this. You don't need to wait that long, because while he was waiting, so many people kept praying that they pray he's going to do it. While some people could beat their chest and say, no, he's not going to do it, really. So that's just the point.
Thank you so much, Samela, for your thoughts on the 2023 presidency. Well, we are going on a break. When we come back, we'll continue with the papers we have on our menu. Don't go away.
For sponsorship and advert placements, please contact 080-3688-6158. Last Word Leadership Podcast Studio. You have the last word.
Inside Nigeria, keeping you informed on what matters.
Welcome back. This is Inside Nigeria, reaching you on Leadership Television. My name is still remains Global, and I have with me still in the studio Samela Musa. Salama Musa, it's always a pleasure on our program. We are moving over to our sister publication, National Economy. That is paper 4 review this morning. And the cover says Nigeria's 18 trillion naira petroleum products export deficit worrisome. Experts. Nigeria's 18 trillion naira petroleum products export deficit worrisome, say experts. Experts condemn government's weak commitment to diversification of products. This is on National Economy this morning, and it's all about business.
Yeah, you see, just like we have always been calling on the government to do the needful, and that has to be done even right on time. It's high time we are not solely dependent on the petrol. This has always come up at different fora, at different, economic think tank, forums being organized, either in terms of some conferences and all of that. We cannot just be solely dependent on petroleum when originally we're running an agrarian economy, and then the discovery of oil, then later on we completely abandon agriculture and move into this. And if you can see with recent technological advancements, you will know that we're sitting on a time bomb. It's just a matter of time. One day you wake up and realize that the rest of the world doesn't really need this product any longer. Because most of the machines that run on them actually have alternatives to them. So this will always hit us very, very hard, because that is what is running our economy as a nation. So whatever happens to it will always be a source of concern. I also listened to the president while he was reading out how much crude was selling for before they came in, and when they came in, and how much it's selling today. So one will think that with all those experience that the president had or that he's having, he will think of alternative means, because you see, even though when they ask him a different question, he tried to lure this in to answer that. When we're talking about inflation and all of that, he's talking about everybody should go back to farm. As if it's just a one solution fits all kind of thing that we're actually trying to describe. So really, it's actually a very bad one, because we're not in control of what happened to the price of this. It's not something that we can determine. You understand? It's a global issue. So because we don't have power over it, it's more reason why we actually need to start looking at other forms. We need to diversify. Otherwise, we keep plunging the country into more problems.
Samaila, we've had previous governments have always talked about diversification of the economy, but unfortunately, when they come in, the others seem to be the other of the day, and they do the opposite. Like this present government talked about agriculture. Now, foodstuffs is on the high side. You can't get anything because of inflation. Now, what happens to our diversification program?
They are not taking it serious. That's just the truth. The fact is that I will expect Mr. President to make himself the substantive Minister of Agri, to be serious about telling people to go back to farm. But rather, he chose to make himself the Minister of Petroleum. You understand? And it doesn't seem, because if you look at the years of experience he had in that industry, it is not reflecting now. They take people back to farm. He unfortunately put charlatans there initially, because even though it took him more than 6 months to come up with cabinet members, people who he's going to work with, he still ended up bringing people who are non-performers. So, and they made a rubbish of that ministry. That's a very, very important ministry. As a matter of fact, it's a ministry that has the largest number of offices when you look around the Federal Capital Territory. Anywhere you go within this city, apart from having a building here in Mabushi, they have one organ of Minister of Agri in one place or the other. So you would think that they will take that seriously, because that is one thing that we are guaranteed of. We have the land for it, and they also said that Mr. President also said that the new economic advisor told him that it's only 25% of arable land in Nigeria that is in use. So the rest of the 75% of our arable land is actually being abandoned. And yet, for 8 years, they have not done anything meaningful in that regard that will say, oh, now we're actually running an agrarian economy. Even if it's going to be 50-50, 50 on the petroleum, on oil, and then 50 agrarian. So that nothing has actually shown that. So really, what we see all the time is lip service to everything. He also say, oh, the way to curb inflation is for everybody to go back to the farm. It's lip service. What do you put in place for people to go back to farm? You have not lived by example yourself. You have not shown because the government itself will have to show much interest in that regard for people to begin to know that, okay, it's like the money is actually leaving the petroleum industry and going back to the farm. And that is the only thing that can actually drive Nigerians. A lot of big players in the petroleum industry have enough funds to channel into agriculture, and that will actually boost both the food within and the one for exports in Nigeria.
Yes, what Mr. President did also say, Mr. Samara, the fact that the bandits also is affecting food output. We see a situation whereby farmers in the north, they have to pay bandits fine before they can sell their farms. So it's not easy. So that one too, what do you think?
That's even the one you are saying is even for the ones that don't have the guts to go to farm, or the ones that have the option of paying money to actually go to farm. In some cases, so many people have actually abandoned their settlements and moved elsewhere. And you see, when you are moving, it affects quite a lot of things. The quest for survival will be the first thing, because most of your things, you left them there, you could not carry your equipment along with you. So if they end up moving into another place, either as refugees, just trying to get shelter and beg for food and wait for whatever crumbs that comes their way. So that has actually moved quite a substantial number of them, from farming, because I mean, we see quite a lot of them go around town here with their hoes on their shoulders. They are not even begging for the work of farming. They're just begging for food. They just, putting hold on their shoulder is just a decoy as well, just to know that, okay, they once had one or two things to do with farming. So really, it's very sad. It's an area that will keep calling on the government. Either the one, I mean, this one all just had about 1 year and maybe 3 months to leave. I don't really trust if there's anything they can actually do again. I mean, they had 7 years to come up with anything. So maybe people who are trying to preserve themselves for leadership should start looking at solutions and not just be carried away with the ambition of becoming president, and you come and you spend 8 years trying to form cabinet, before you even hit the ground running. Time is gone. So really, it's an area that we need to concentrate on.
Thank you so much. But we are looking at the last paper we have on our menu this morning, and that is THISDAY newspaper. THISDAY newspaper has on its main cover the interview. But we are not going to take that. We are taking the one above, the one in the yellow box, and it says Zamfara killings. Article urges federal government to ramp up security as Farouk decries situation. The writer says Zulum always offers logistic support without prompting, says GOC. Zamfara killings. Article urges federal government to ramp up security as Farouk decries situation. Now, on Saturday, where the media was awash with the killings that took place in Zamfara. Though the figures, we had conflicting reports of the figures, but the fact remains that many people were slaughtered on Saturday.
Yeah, many people were slaughtered. What we have in Nigeria is most of the times the numbers are always downplayed. Except if you are in those places, you will never get, the accurate number of, because in so many cases, even the government try to influence the figures. They try, but some form of propaganda to try to actually reduce the figure of casualties. But the reality remains what it is, because there's a slogan in Nigeria. They say anywhere you hear that 10 people died, then it's 100. You understand? So it's unfortunate with all the clampdown on the telecoms, and all those measures. And we have also said that, when we say, oh, it's not the solution is actually not the telecoms thing you are talking about. These are people who have lived their lives without even the telecoms and, have moved from one place to the other. Those places, the borders are porous. Those places are not properly, those forests are not properly manned. So with telecoms or not, they are free to move. You understand? It's just a matter of time. And they are manning some places that they are unchecked. Even the military dare not go to those places. In some cases, they tell you the only thing they can make the military to go to those places is if they are using their Tucano, which is one of the reasons why they had to pass them. I mean, to prescribe them now. That prescription was just now being gazetted, so that they can actually make use of those bomber jets that they bought from America, because America gives to Tucano. America gives some conditions to that. So, but what happened to the ground troops? You understand? So these are some of the things, because when the ground troops cannot access some of those places, it means that even when you shut down the telecoms, these people are still roaming those places. You understand? Those territories belongs to them, and that is actually, those places are the hotbed of where these criminalities are being carried out on a daily basis. You know, and this happens all the time. It's only sometimes when the figures are too high that you get to hear them in the news, but there's no day that the killings don't go on.
Sad.
Yeah.
Well, you asked us where we'll be calling it today from today's Inside Nigeria, where we reviewed 4 papers: leadership newspaper, Nigeria's most influential newspaper, we reviewed national economics, the Sun, and THISDAY. And have with me in the studio all along, Samaya Musa. Samaya Musa, it's always a pleasure to have you.
Thank you.
On the set of Inside Nigeria. So I remain really credible, and don't forget, tomorrow is another day for the program. Do keep engaged with us. Bye.
Thank you for watching. For sponsorship and advert placements, please contact 080-3688-6158. Last Word Leadership Podcast Studio. You have the last word.